Hello friends, Nick here, welcome back, and will you take a look at this scenery? Unbelievable. And you see off there in the distance on the left? Yeah, that's a waterfall. And we're going to have another little one here coming up on the right. Look at that. And you know what that means. Clifford has released a brand new add-on pack. He sent me a pre-release version for which I'm very grateful. And I said, of course, we'll take a flight out here and check it out. It is going to be incredible. He finally got a good roll of the dice with the surrounding natural landscape. This is actually some of the best we've ever flown over in the sim, which is just incredible. We're in Sweden, and we're going to check out the waterfalls, then head up into the mountains and look at some glaciers. It's going to be incredible, and we're going to do it all in the Joby S4, which I am so glad we learned to fly because it's perfect for this one. So let's hop in real quick and take a look at the little nav map. All right, so here we are over Europe, and if we zoom way in, we're going to be a little bit east of Lake Geneva. Oh, and by the way, guys, boy, that's a lot of helipads, isn't it? Why in the world would all those be in little nav map? Yep. Install the latest version. It's finally linking all the helipads. You know we've been waiting for this from the sim, so you can bring them all in now. Install the latest version, come up here to Scenery Library, and then load Scenery Library, follow the prompts, and they will all be in here, which is almost a little bit... There are a lot of them, aren't there? Way, way more than there are airports. It's almost too much, but it's nice to be able to see them now because you can actually select them when you're drawing out your flight plans. Okay, so a couple of pointers I want to tell you about this, and let me get to one other thing real quick. I know you guys know Jeremy Bella242 is his YouTube channel. We took that helicopter flight together. He is a real-life helicopter pilot, and he gave me a real-life lesson here in the sim, which was amazing. But he's also buddies with Cliff and a big supporter of him and all the other modders out there. And so this time, before we did this, the last time Cliff did a pack, we did the same flight a couple days apart, and I was like, no sense in doubling up, and I really, really want to watch him fly some helicopters around since he's so much better than me and most other people I've seen fly in the sim. So I sent him a message and I said, hey man, I really like these waterfalls. They look amazing as usual, but the greater area is also awesome, and I'd love to tour that as well. So why don't you do a nice close-up, very precise helicopter flight around the falls, and then I'll do them real quick. We'll just fly by them, and then we'll go out here and look at this other stuff too, because this whole flight is amazing. Clifford's stuff is just the icing on the cake. It's just unbelievable. So I have bookmarked all of these. This flight plan will be included in the video description as always, so if you want to fly it just like we are, you can load it up into a little nav map, and then bring it into your avionics or track it in a little nav map, however you want to do it. And I've also bookmarked all the falls as you come through here, along with a couple other spots that we're going to check out along the way. But we're going to start, there's an airport right here, which is just great, which we'll check out when we're coming back around. But I'm going to start up at the top of this mountain because there's something I want to tell you about up there. Then we'll come on down through here. This is one of the most amazing areas I've ever flown over, right through this canyon here. It's incredible. And then look at this, within like a couple miles, this whole trip's 55 miles. We're going to have some incredible glaciers. This is not a great map, by the way. This is the Mapbox map. The one in the sim, the default one, is going to be the best of all the options, so you don't have to worry about installing or using the map enhancement application. We're going to come down here, check out a couple of big hydroelectric reservoirs, some incredible dams, and then cruise over here and land at this airport. But this valley has all kinds of airports. If you just want to keep on going down, it's all just absolutely beautiful. As far as add-ons, I do have a couple of them installed, so those will all be linked. I'll tell you about them as we're going along. But just a quick pointer, when you're in the world map, before you load into the sim, come over each of the falls. You will see a POI marker in there, and zoom all the way in on the falls until you can see them on the world map. The reason why you want to do that is it will preload them into your cache. Otherwise, you're going to get some pop-in as you're flying up by them. In fact, you won't even see them until you get right on them for some of them. So just before you hop on the trip, just stop at each of the POI markers, zoom all the way until you see the falls. You actually see them animated and everything. Just go through each of them, and then once you get in, they'll already be all loaded up. You'll get no pop-in, which is such an immersion killer, so we won't deal with that. So again, we're just going to hop in here, cruise down here in the old Joby, swing down this valley here. I'll tell you about this airport, check out the falls as we're coming around, cruise to this valley, and then come on back in. And I've got a really nice little surprise for us. I did buy an add-on that just does one little thing down here, but it's so cool, so I want to show that to you guys too. So with that, let's get back in here and fire this thing up and get going. All right, so we just need to hit that little soft key, switch it from load mode to flight mode, and I think everything else is pretty much set. I already had my battery switched on, so I think we're good to go. Okay, so one add-on pack that I just leave in all the time is the Meiringen Designs cable cars, so we will definitely see a lot of lifts and gondolas out here. We're going to see one right down to the right coming up right here. There it is right there. I didn't see any moving around, but at least the cables are there, and they've got them all over the place out here. And then right up here on the right, and I don't know if this is Clifford's add-on or if it was already in the sim as a POI, this is the end of the line for a steam-powered rack train that started climbing up here from the town of Brienz in 1892. We'll see the little tunnel it goes into here in a minute. And I think it's incredible. There it is right there. I think it's incredible that I'm actually seeing this thing in the sim because I watched a video of someone riding it from start to finish a couple of months ago. It was like one of those fall asleep to train type videos. All it was just them filming like from the front of the train. And I had no idea where it was. I knew it was in Sweden, but I didn't know it was out here, and now we're seeing it, which is just amazing. And if you've never seen a rack rail train, it pulls itself along a little toothed track with like a cog in the center of the train that runs between the rails, so it can climb really steep terrain like this. They only run in the summer for obvious reasons, but that ride up there is about an hour long. Absolutely beautiful. It runs down to this little town down here on the lake. Or you can take the gondolas up here. But why do that when you have a perfectly good steam train? This big body of water, which is the most spectacular, brilliant blue color in real life, is Lake Brienz, and it's about 9 miles long. A little bit under 2 miles wide and nearly 900 feet deep, which is amazing. And here's our first falls right here. These are called Giesbach, and those cascade over 1,300 feet down, hitting 14 different steps before splashing into the lake. And that little building right there on the corner, which is actually a big building if you get close to it, is called the Grand Hotel Giesbach, which started as a little one-room guest house in 1832. And now it's grown into a very nice and quite beautiful place with 72 rooms right there on the falls. And way off there in the distance, those are the runways for Meiringen Air Base, which would be a great place to start this trip no matter what aircraft you select, because it's right in the middle of all the falls. And that place got started in 1941 and is pretty unique in that there are hangars dug into caves in the mountainside to the south, which would be on the right side of the runway. And according to Wikipedia, they have a squadron of F-5s and F-18s down there today, so you could go do some great plane spotting out here, I'm sure. And I did have an add-on for this installed originally. I'll link it in the description if you like looking at planes that are really, really detailed, but it kind of gave me a little bit of a performance hit, so I took it back out, but I will include that in the description. And then those falls right to the right are called Olschbach, and that one is just a tad shorter than the first one at around 1,000 feet, and the initial drop is roughly half of that, and then it's got some smaller little splash zones down at the bottom. And I landed at the top of that in the first flight I took out here, which wasn't a helicopter, and I asked Bella too, when he flies out here, to please try to land at that little rocky outcropping there to the right of it. You can just see the sun hitting it, if he can do it, because I bet the view would be incredible from there. And he's a much better pilot than me, so if anyone can do it, I'm sure it's him. But that's neat looking. And I know a lot of these are in the shadows. This is a tough area to get the sun just right, and I will strongly encourage you to set the month at October. And I set the time of day at 11 o'clock. Look at it running down there. That is amazing. Beautiful. Nice work, Cliff. But I felt like that time of year and that time of day just gave me the best shadows for everything, the best views of everything. Not too much snow, not too little snow. The trees all look good. It looks just fantastic. Some more falls there to the right. That was called Reichenbach Falls. So up here to the right, we're going to have two more, and then we're going to head up into this valley. And these are called the Falschenbach and Reichenbach Falls. And I think these Reichenbach Falls had some sort of significance for the Sherlock Holmes stories. I think that's where in the stories he fought his arch nemesis, Professor, was it Muratori? Is that what his name was? They got a little museum up there and everything now. So here's the first one. This would be the Falschenbach. And then off to the left, there's some other smaller falls, but we're not going to see those because we're going to be coming up into this valley here. Look at that one. It kind of looks like there's a little too much of a fountain there at the bottom of that one. It looks like it's shooting off too far, but again, this is the pre-release version. So maybe there's one more little bit of touch-up he needs to do. And you'll see this little, there's the falls right there. We're going to see them like kind of coming down to look a little hole over here, which is amazing. And then this river runs all the way up into this valley. And you're not going to believe how good this looks. So let's take a look at the falls real quick here. Look at that. Unbelievable. Awesome. Ah, so cool. What a, just a playground of waterfalls out here. And I do have lots and lots of videos linked for almost all the falls out here, so be sure to check those out if you want to see what they look like in real life. Some great 4K drone footage of some of these, some people walking around touring it all. Very nice. And this area up here is called the Grindelwald Glacier Canyon and looks absolutely amazing, both here in the sim and in real life. And there's one more fall out here with an impossibly long and strange name. I think it might be pronounced Gletscherschlut, but I might be totally off on that. It's over there to the left, and it's really hard to see because it's going to kind of be behind us before we can see it, but I'll try to look out the left-hand side to see if we can spot it. And look at this huge mountain just sticking up over here. And what is so incredible about this is the landscape goes from nice, lush forest vegetation to kind of like a tundra intermediate area, and then up in like the frozen Arctic up here in these mountains with these glaciers and everything. Let's see if we can see it. It's going to be right to the left. You see how small it is? It's just kind of running up there. If you just follow the stream up there, you'll see it. But just amazing. And I should have put some clouds on. And the performance out here is fantastic as well. So as we come up here, and this is why this is a really, really great plane to take, we're going to have to do some very hard climbing. Once we get up here, it'll probably be very tough in a helicopter, unless you just want to stay in one spot for a while. But this thing will not let itself fall out of the sky, so you can just keep on pulling up, and if it gets to where it's going to stall, the engines will flip up to the vertical position, and it'll just start hover climbing. And once we come over this ridge, I'm going to tip the nose down just a little bit so you can take in this vista as we come over this, because it's also just incredible. And what's really crazy about all these mountain areas, once we get up here, every now and then you'll spot a little structure, and I was like, no way, that's got to be something the sim accidentally put in there. But then when I was looking around the Google Maps, they do have just like little tiny hotels up here in the glaciers. And I have no idea how you get to them because there don't appear to be any roads, so I don't know if you just have to take helicopters up here or what. Look at that, they got a little tower down there to the left. Look at this valley. And yep, in 2024, no rounded off mountains in the Alps at all. If you watch any of our 2020 flights, I was always complaining about not wanting to come out here because the mountains were always so rounded off on the top. Totally nailed it here in 2024. And if you saw, let's see, like our Greenland flight in 2020 and the K2 flight that we took in a helicopter, I think we're in the H-125 for that one, I was marveling at how incredible the snowpacks looked. And we're going to get some more of that out here. It looks like a photograph, literally, but it's not. It's actually got some relief to it. So in other words, if you change the sun, the time of day, you'll see that it's not a picture. Even these tiny little fissures and stuff do have some relief to them, so the shadows will change on them. We're starting to see a little bit of it here. Okay, so I think we got to get up to around 12,000 feet to get over this, which is where this will come in very handy, but look at this. Some parts of this will start to get a little bit fuzzy looking, but as long as you're not just right on top of it, it looks very lifelike. And then once we get over this snow over here, you'll see what I'm talking about, how realistic it looks. You can kind of start to see it down there to the right. Just incredible. And then once we come over here, we're going to be right on top of a glacier. Which is yet another thing I like about this flight. It's like every mountain you come over, there's something new and amazing to see. It's always just shockingly amazing once you come over the top of each of these ridges. Look at that snow down to the right. Is that crazy or what? You can tell they're real shadows. Unbelievable. Oh my gosh. So you'll be tempted once you get over here to fly down low to get a nice close look at these glaciers. And if you do pull the season back to a warmer month like June or July, there'll be a little bit less snow cover, which will let you see a little bit more of what the glacier really looks like. But don't fall to the temptation. You're going to want it to look just about like this for the best for most of the flight. But anyway, don't get too low by the glacier because you're going to have to come right back up again. We're going to follow it down here and then take that turn to the right, and then we're going to have to climb right back up again. How incredible is this? I feel like we should be in Antarctica or something, or Greenland. Not in the middle of Sweden, where we were just down in a nice green valley. I mean, we're like 5 miles from it. This is incredible. That is just amazing. In that first valley that we flew over, apparently they used to have a lot of issues with flooding between the 15 to 1800s until they did some water control measures. But it wiped out all the towns and villages down there several times. And there's even a tiny little remnant of a castle off to the left right before we took that right-hand turn to come into that big valley. I saw it on Google, but you can't really see it in the sim. It just looks like a little structure. Didn't get modeled as a castle. There's the peak at the reservoir that we're going to see in just a minute, but we're going to come over here so you can take it in with the most shockingly beautiful view as we crest yet another mountain to see it. So if you're curious about this plane and you haven't seen it yet, I have a tutorial for this one. It took me a little while to figure out how to fly it, but once I did, I'm really enjoying it. And also the Archer Midnight, the other eVTOL plane. So if you go to our how-to section or just scroll back maybe 5 or 6 videos, you'll see it. If you haven't flown it yet, you should. It's a really cool and different type of plane. So you'll see there's nowhere to go here except up, so we're going to pull off to the left. And as we do that, as we come over the top of this, I'm going to see if I can demonstrate for you how this thing will go into self-preservation mode. If we keep pulling back up, you can see our climb right there is getting way up there. It seems like once it gets to about 70 knots of... Look at that snow. That's just amazing. Once it gets to about 70 knots of indicated airspeed, those engines should start to tip up to give it some more downward thrust. Let's see, we're getting close. I think we're coming under 80 now. That's a really small number. Down to 70... There they go. See them tipping up there? So eventually, if you keep climbing, it'll just go straight up. It will keep you from falling out of the sky. So we got another big open snow bowl here, and if you fall that straight down, you probably hit another glacier, but we're going to come off here to the left to check out a series of stepped reservoirs. And I really encourage you to come from this direction. I mean, you could always fly it in reverse if you want to, and have the dessert at the end be all the waterfalls. But the problem is you're going to see some dams coming head-on towards the dam instead of over from the backside like we're going to be doing. And those are not modeled in the sim. You can tell they're dams, it's very obvious they're dams, but I think the sim just thought, well, there's a ledge, let's make it a mountain ledge. And on the face of the dam, it just put a bunch of the textured rock cracks and fissures and all that. So it looks like it's a dam on the verge of collapse. Look at that razor sharp edge in those mountains there. Love it. Look at this. So at the very end there, that horseshoe-shaped thing, that's the dam. And depending on the time of year, I looked at several different satellite maps. Either the water looks kind of like that. If it's getting a lot of runoff from the glacier, probably in the warmer months. And sometimes a year, it's also really, really bright blue. I'm not sure which would be which. I'm guessing the warmer months would probably look like that when you get more mud and everything running into it. And now we're going to start to see all the lifts. And I did land just to the right of the dam there when I came down here last time, just to look over it to see what it looked like. It wasn't all that great. So just fly over it like this. And as we get closer, you can just barely start to see them now, is the beginning of the series of chairlifts or gondolas. I think they're modeled as chairs here in the sim, but I'm not sure what they are in real life because I couldn't get close enough to tell. But there's one little one that'll kind of come up to the top of this ridge here, and they're just all over the place out here. But from here, it's going to run about 3 miles down the total length of the next reservoir. So these first 3 will be 1, 2, 3 stepping down, and then we'll see one more as we come up to the right as we circle back around towards our destination. Look at this. See the lift there on the right? And if you look up on the top of the hill to the right as we're coming around this one, you'll see some more. And these are all hydroelectric. I'm not sure when exactly they were built. I saw the dates for 2 of them. The other 2 didn't say, but one was like 1932. I think the other was 1953. So I'm guessing all these have probably been around for at least 60 years or so. Let me see if I can get down low enough that you can get a better view of the lifts. You can just see the little towers form there on the right if you got a big screen. I think as we come around, you'll kind of see them. I want the sky to be in back of them. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, though. We'll see as we come around here. There we go. There's one right on the ledge. You can see the 2 little towers for it. See them up there? What a ride that would be, huh? And there is a parking area down there at the base of these, so there must be a road somewhere. I just have... Well, there it is. There's one. Kind of zigzagging across there. So that must be how you get out here. And maybe the only way to get over to that other dam is to take the lifts. Oh, there's a little car hanging down there. It looked like a gondola. Okay, so that was the second reservoir, and then here comes the third one, and then we're going to have to pull up, and we will come head-on at this next dam, which of the 3 is probably the most realistic looking. And I think there's some more cable wires hanging down here somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe they're coming over this one. What an amazing view. Another thing about having the time of year set for cooler months, in the summertime, those trees look really green and unnatural. They don't look like moss or whatever it is on those mountains, which is what it probably really looks like. It looked rather unnatural to see a bunch of green bushes growing over there. So there's that dam to the right. We're just going to swing around over here, come over the top of it, and head back towards the south. And that stuff that looks kind of unnatural, like mud and all that, those are, no matter what time of year, pretty much just because of where the sun is in the sky, always in the shadows, so I don't think the sim knew what to do with it, because on all the satellite maps it's just really, really dark. So there'd probably really be trees and snow on it, but it was like pitch black in the sim. At least they got some texturing. It looks like a mountain. But what an amazing area. So we'll come over here, we'll have to climb really, really hard one more time, and I'm going to fly right through that little U-shaped notch right there. That can be your aiming point as you come over this. It's probably the lowest crossing point. And then we'll have yet another amazing final view as we're coming into this landing area. So I got to hand it to you again, Cliff. You found an incredible spot. Not only does it have all the waterfalls, but this time you got all this beautiful surrounding landscape. Yep, that's perma shadow down there too. That's as good as it's going to get, no matter what map you're using. And I did try several different maps. The problem with the others was the ground texturing was so different and so dark and so many different times of year that I was getting that stepwise square pattern filling in no matter how much I was trying to pre-cache everything, so I would just fly it with this default map. As you can see, it looks incredible. There's some more great looking snow right there. So nice. So many mountain areas just get such bad coverage for some reason. I tried flying up by Everest, right up around the very top of Everest. It looks good. I wanted to take the pathway that you could, you travel if you were going up there to try to climb it, but so much of it around it looks just so bad. Right at Everest, it's okay though. And boy, you need something that can get really high for that too. I think I took the H125 for that one. This one doesn't have a dam at it, but it's a neat little lake. So we're coming down into the town of Ulriken, which is where the airport is. And I saw a picture of the town that is going to be right at this end of the valley as we're coming in here. The picture was from 1900 and it looked like it got colorized. And back then, which wasn't all that long ago, there was a huge glacier running all the way down through here and ending like right at the edge of this valley here. And as you can see now, completely gone. So this whole thing would have just been glacier 100 years ago. Kind of makes you wonder what it'll look like in another 100 years. Might not be any glaciers up here. So this airport, once we come into it, is Ulriken Airport. I have no idea why it's out here, when it was out here, or what they were using it for, because all I could find in Wikipedia was the fact that there is a town called Ulriken out here. But I do have an add-on for this one. It's about $6. I got it at Sim Market because it's going to add something that I'm going to show you at the end, and it does give it a complete runway. In real life, I don't know if the runway was built like this or not, but there's a bunch of big squares in the middle of it, like grass squares. So I don't know if they pulled up some segments, but all the way at the other end, they got a go-kart track, so I don't think they're landing any fixed-wing aircraft out here. They could probably put some helicopters down. And I'll show you on a little nav map at the end when we're done. There are quite a few other helipads you can select out here, some of which I think Cliff probably modded up because they're right by his waterfalls, and he usually does touch them up a bit. There's the airport, the strip right down there. And they got a little train yard out here. These valleys are just amazing. And these towns are so tiny. I was looking at the population numbers. There's like nobody out here. Can you imagine having all this space to yourself?
500.
So again, with this thing, it is not designed for regular fixed-wing landings. You're supposed to come in and hover. Boy, good thing there's no power lines in here. We probably would have hit them. I was a little bit low there. Eventually we'll have some power lines. So we'll kind of come in as if we're going to land, and then I'll get into a hover, and then we'll put her down. And the neat little add-on for this is there's an animated train that should run on the tracks to the left side of this runway. So we'll get down here and set her down, and then pull over there and I'll hop out and look at it. We'll go stand by the tracks, see if it'll come by. Yeah, so in real life, there's like 4 or 5 big grass squares on this end of the runway. Very strange. Our next flight is going to be way, way up north. I found a very interesting and cool location for us that does bear some significance for the human population of the world. And based on the satellite maps, I think we'll be at a pretty good area despite it being that far north. So I think we're going to take the Twin Otter 2. I really want to take that, and it's short enough that I don't have to worry about the autopilot not working, which it doesn't. So that'll be cool. Now off to the left there, I'm guessing this might have been military at some point because those definitely look like hardened bunkers over there, don't they? Maybe they're keeping go-karts in them now. I don't know. Let's see. I want to try to come a little bit forward here so I don't have to taxi all the way down to that taxiway. So the trouble with this thing is, once you get it into hover mode, you got to kind of really finesse the throttle. Because if you start to pull back, which is always my tendency, like in a helicopter, it just goes up, it doesn't go forward, so you got to mess with your throttle. And if you bring it down to the center point, it eventually stops. Look at those bunkers over there. And I think those are there in real life too. Alright, we're probably going to try to set her down here. And then we'll just taxi over there. And down. This thing, I mean, you cannot crash it. It's impossible to not land it well. I mean, it lands itself, it flies itself, it will never stall. Just great for pretty much any environment. I can't think of a place where I wouldn't want to take this unless you need to get up to like 40,000 feet or something. Same thing with the Archer. This one's a lot quicker than the Archer. This one will get up to 170 knots. I think that Archer topped out around 110, which is pretty crazy considering it has, what, like 12 engines or something on it? Alright, so we'll pull right over here, stop next to this bunker, and then get out the train tracks. There's the static train, and I'm really hoping the train's going to come by. It's come by every time so far. Okay, let's hop out real quick. Man, I wish I had a little penny or something to put down on the track so we could smash it flat. Oh, look at these seasonal trees and everything. This is just amazing. So incredible. Boy, that train is really well modeled. All right, train, come on. Is that the moving train? Yes, it is. All right, cool, cool, cool. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here it comes. I wonder if it makes any noise. Last time I saw it, I was just sitting in the plane, so I don't know if it makes any noise or not. That'd be cool. I'm a train guy, so even the $6 just to see this, totally worth it for me. Give us a honk, man. Nope. Oh, nobody's on it either. How cool is that? That is just awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let's take a look at little nav map again real quick. Okay, well, I'm just now noticing that that was not tracking our flight in real time because we can still see our whole map here. But obviously, I've flown it enough now that it was no issue flying it in VFR. And if you fly it once or twice, you'll have no problem VFR flying it either because the waterfalls are kind of the landmarks for everything. So again, if you didn't want to start where we did, which is up on this mountain, we'll check that out in a minute. Here's the airport. It's right in the middle of all of it. And we got several helipads around here. We got one just a little bit to the east of the airport, another one right down here, and they're all helipads in real life. I bet Clifford probably did touch those up. But let me show you one more. This is a crazy spot for a helipad. Oh, there's another one over there too. But check this out. Right down here in the doldrums, and someone has actually built some kind of structure there. It looks like it's like a little mini dam. You see that? And I don't know if I can remove that. Can I remove that to see what it looks like? Look at that. It's a real helipad. And this is a dam. It's just got like, I don't know if that's silt or ice or snow. I'm probably going to have to check that out. I bet that looks just incredible. And then we got one more right up here too, by the last dam that we saw. Let's see what this one looks like. That's one of those little hotels I was telling you about. They're all over the place out here. Isn't that crazy? Like, what would you be looking at if you were staying there? They got a little hiking path when you got all those other beautiful places down there in the valley. Okay, let's get back to where we started from here. So if you have the Mapbox map for a little nav map, you will see the satellite map. You'll see all these blue lines. That shows where all the cable cars are. And that one is really long, isn't it? So this is the one we saw. We took off facing this way and then just kind of turned this way. We saw this one out of the right corner of our eyes as we were coming by. But if you turn this way towards the east, you'll also see this little set of lifts right down here. You can see the shadow form. I don't know why anyone would take that one. It looks like a pretty short climb. That would probably be really cool because it comes over that big gorge. And then here is the rack rail train. Did they have it parked down there? Yeah, they got a couple of them there. So it comes into this little tunnel right here, comes through there, pokes out this way. You've got to find a video. Just watch the whole video of someone taking the ride up here. If you can stay awake for more than 5 minutes, you've done good. And there's the train. There it is. I don't know if he's going down or up, but there he is, just chugging along. And then it winds down here, down to the town of Brienz. And look at this. They could just go straight down, but they really wanted to just milk it, which I am totally fine with that. And there's where it winds up. This is the actual color of this, and I don't know why all of the maps that are available have this tiling effect here. I don't know why it looks like that, and even in the sim when we flew by with the default map, you probably noticed that line right there. But this is what it really looks like, which is incredible. Really, really neat. And here's our first fall, Giesbach. And there's the Grand Hotel. So this started off as just a little one-room lodge and a park bench, I think, that he put out here. And since then, they've got this big bridge crossing over here. Look at that, going right over the falls. So this one, I think, is the tallest of all of them, but it also probably has the shortest, like, free fall. As you can see, there's a lot of steps. I think I said 14 steps on that one. So a lot of the others come right over the side of a amazing-looking cliff, no pun intended, cliff. And as we come back to the airport, let me just show you, if you put that add-on pack in and you have 2020, here's where the caves are with the hangars, and the caves are modeled, and there's some F5s or F18s parked right out here. The problem in 2024, there's a bunch of trees here. You can see them, and you could probably get out and walk down here if you wanted to, but the hangars are modeled over here. There's just trees all over it, and I bet in 2020, which is what the pack was originally made for, probably doesn't have that. And then down here, they got a bunch of fighters parked down here, so it's really cool if you don't mind a little bit less performance because it's pretty detailed. And here's the Reichenbach Falls, and the first time I come out here, this is the one where I landed right in this field and looked over the edge. Awesome. I hope Jerry does that. And then here's Reichenbach Falls over here. Both of these are about 1,000 feet. And as we come over here, we got two more helipads down there, and then here's the Falkenbach and the Reichenbach, and here's the Sherlock Holmes Museum. Professor Moriarty, that's what his name is. Moriarty. I can't remember what I said, but Moriarty. I couldn't remember that. And if you want to try to look at where the castle is, this is it. That's all that's left of it. And as I was reading about these areas down in these valleys, they had some pretty pitched battles that were quite bloody back in the first part of the second millennium. Okay, so then we kind of come... So when you see the last fall here, this was I think this is my favorite. This is the one that dropped down into that little hole right there. It was amazing. Just kind of follow the stream up here. It is modeled all the way up. And then this one's really tough to spot unless you want to turn around and look at it from this way, just because of how it's kind of tucked down in here. And you see all these shadows? Look at these mountains. That's why you couldn't really see anything that looked like anything all on these backsides. No matter what satellite image you look at, the shadows are going to look like that. So all things considered, I think the sim did a pretty good job with that. And as you're skimming through those videos, if you watch any of them, I'll strongly encourage you to look at the ones for this area. And again, I have no idea how to say that. Gletscherschlucht. This area is amazing. I attached one of some people walking around in these canyons and stuff. Just really cool. So then you come on up here, take around the corner. You won't miss this turn here. You come over the ridge, see this valley down here, and then you come around the side of this mountain if you're trying to VFR fly it. Once you come over the top of this, you'll hit the glacial area, and if you feel like you want to keep going straight, you'll come right down into the second of our 3 reservoirs. But we wanted to take all 3 of them in, so we came over to the right, and then over this crest right here, and then we can start to see them as we come down here. That's about the right color, isn't it, that we saw in there? It was that grayish color. And then here's where the lifts are. So the first time I came out here, I plopped the S4 down right there and then walked out on this dam. Didn't look all that great, unfortunately. So you could probably skip that if you're thinking about checking it out. And then there's the blue line for the cable car ride. And that is a long one, really long. And they got another little one over there. I wonder how much it cost. I wonder if you could just get a pass to ride all of them. That would be incredible. And then here's the second dam. And then we came over here to over the top of this one. And then here's the dam that we could see from the front side, which once I took another look at it, it just looked like the side of a mountain. You could see the lip of it here, but it was just the side of a mountain. It didn't look like much like a dam at all, other than the ridge. Now that's a very blue one, isn't it? They must not get a lot of runoff there. And then we came around this way over the top to our last glacier. There was that last little lake that we saw. And I wish I could show you guys that picture of this town. If you just look at the wiki page for this airport, the town we came into, Ulriken, you will see there a picture of this town taken from right around here. This is the one from around 1900. So they're looking this way. You can see the town here, and the glacier's coming all the way down here, and it looks like it just stops like right here. It's incredible. If you want to see that, just look for the wiki page for Ulriken, but you won't find anything about the airport because there's not much info. And if we zoom way in, all right, look, okay, so this is what I was talking about. This is what the runway looks like. There's these big cut open segments, and they do have a helicopter down there. So I don't know if at one time, I don't know if this was always helicopter. I don't know why they would have intentionally made a runway like that. I'm guessing they pulled those up for some reason. And then we do have these bunkers down here. Look at that. So probably military. Oh, and look, there's the go-kart track. So somebody's having some fun out here. And then here's the train line where we got to see the train come through. Very cool. That was worth every one of those 600 pennies I paid for that. Totally cool. All right, guys, so I already have the other flight about halfway done for our next way up north flight. I just had to stop everything when I heard that Cliff had a new pack, so we did this one real quick, but absolutely awesome as you saw. I really hope you guys will fly it. Had an absolute blast. Can't wait to see you all again in the skies later.